All right, guys, welcome back to the podcast called Tell the World. I'm your host, Ota, and today we'll be doing this podcast today without no intro music. So we're just gonna just do it freestyle with no music, and I'm using a new mic, so I'm not actually at my station, my slash office. So I'm out and on about. So everything that I'm doing right now is live at this moment. It's 6:22 p.m. That's California time. So I want to jump into thinking and overthinking, and how sometimes you'll hear a lot of people, just start overthinking about things and having spontaneous thoughts about, they got to get this done, they got to get that done, and their minds and everything just get so boggled and so confused about what they need to do because they're thinking about so many things. And also, I want to just talk about, our part of what we create within ourselves and what comes out of us, which is our creation of what we see, as well as us being around people. And sometimes people bring the best out of us, but sometimes people can bring the worst out of us. And that becomes our own creation too. It could be good for worse, or just be something that's disastrous in our lives. You know, I used to hear people use the word misery, and I always used to wonder, what misery meant. Like, wow, what got them to that point? That's a death sentence to yourself. That your position of waking up every day and feeling just horrible, trapped. Misery to me is like you put yourself into a jail of hell, you know. So with the overthinking and how we just let shit just get into our head that someone says, and we just let it just go repeatedly thinking about what they said, how they got us mad, and over and over and over and over. Someone just pushed your button the wrong way, and you're just all over the place. And sometimes trauma in our lives can cause us to start to overthinking. We go through a lot of shit. We hear a lot of shit every day. And, when we're born and we're coming into this world, we don't have no clue until we leave our parents' house. And once we get into this real world and we step out here, oh yeah. And sometimes coming back home to your mom and dad, they see their children different. They don't see them the same. This is what the world is all about. Everything in this world is a part of all of our creation. And some teachers out here that are teaching good or bad, or just trying to keep people on the right path, it's a war out there. It's a big ass war. And that's what this fight is about on this planet every day, good or bad. Democrat or Republican, all of that. So when you feel like your life is crashing and you're overthinking things and it's putting you at your worst, you're overthinking something that has not even been created yet outside of you. So inside of you, your mind is fibbling all of these thoughts from thinking about it to just realizing that, you know what, I'm looking at the worst points about it, and you're not trying to look at the good parts about it. You're just trying to figure it out. And your mind every day is not trying to figure out everything in your life. And this is where our thinking process gets fucked up, because we seem to think about too many things. And so we have not disciplined ourselves enough in the world to understand that we have to think one way, think about one thing, work on that one thing, accomplishments of just handling one thing. You can't push yourself to get everything done. You can't be Superman or Superwoman. You will crash. Later in your years, as you get older, you will crash. You will crash with anxiety, to depression. Hell, you will become schizophrenic because all this shit has put you in a place where you just drove yourself crazy. And you have to take time out and learn what your thinking process is doing to you. Is your thinking helping you in life? Because your thinking is supposed to be a gift, a creation of to imaginations to bring them to life. We're bringing nightmares of overthinking to life. And we have to separate ourselves from that thinking process, because that right there is not good for us. We have to think one way. And some people say, well, that's hard when I got my thoughts here and there. Well, that's when you need an outside activity out yourself. You need an outside activity from being closed in, trapped, and then these bad thoughts of overthinking start to come through your mind. Because as long as you're trapped within that room of your mind, then these frivolous bad thoughts of what you got to get done and what you have to do will start to really drive you crazy and trap you. That leads you to medications, which will even make you more messed up. And later on in this podcast, on one of my sections down the road, I will discuss that about what the medicine that we're prescribed out here in the world, what it's doing to us. Because we're being driven crazy. We're being pushed to that edge now. It's not like it used to be, and everybody, we don't have the elders that we used to have growing up would put us back in place without medicine. Because the tone in their voice, their love and their heart brought us back to our place where we need to be. Example. Can anybody remember when a relative would go off and get married, and then the situation didn't turn out right, and then the person was making bad, reckless decisions, and the person just couldn't take it no more? Or let's just say the person couldn't take the abuse no more, and then all of a sudden they decided, finally, to pack their shit and move out and move back home to their parents. And slowly they started to come back to themselves on the way how they used to think. But like drugs, we can backslide on ourselves and go right back to that situation. If I gave you the answer to the problem, would it change it? And it's simple. We have to make those changes in our lives when we're thinking. And sometimes we do get up under pressure. And sometimes the love can conquer our mind and our heart, where we don't even know what decisions we're making, good or bad or right decisions. We're just overthinking things and making bad decisions. And yes, love can cause that problem to happen in your lives. Yet along you add anger into love, is very disastrous, because it leads up to other things that becomes trauma into your life as well as into other people's lives. We all are responsible for our own lives, but sometimes we need help and we need to lean on someone to bring us back. And not a lot of us have that in our lives. So we have to channel that for ourselves. We have to, keep good people around us for our lives, because it's hard to maintain by ourselves out there. And sometimes you want to get out there and do it on your own, and you don't want no one involved into your relationship, and you feel like, hey, I can do this on my own. I don't need no one to get involved. And that may not be the case. Because just because you close your blinds in your life don't mean that somebody can't see something in the crack of your life. Because overthinkers sometimes don't see the mistakes they make it. And someone's level-headed out of that situation can see it a little bit more clear than what you can't see. It's just not your fault. Sometimes you get crowded. Sometimes you get cluttered. Sometimes you get confused. It's normal. But if you don't come out of that, it's going to take control of your life. And you're going to crash. And you're going to make bad decisions. And life doesn't turn out right with all that going on in one life. I wonder sometimes why we were having so many people with anxiety issues. And I had a guy tell me one time, well, we always had anxiety issues in the community or in our communities. We just didn't know how to diagnose it. And I was thinking about that. I'm like, well, did we? And I still couldn't just come out of my mind about it. Like, could I remember something like that? And I've never seen this before, ever. Because something has happened in our lives that has caused us to have anxiety and quickly depression. Depression is horrible. Eventually you will give up. Meds are not working no more, you give up. Imagine all the overthinking that's going on inside someone's head that has anxiety. It's horrible. Just as well as it's horrible for the family to go through it. But they're trying. We all are trying. So, we can't put too much on our shoulders because we're not built that way and we can't control everything around us. We are not here to control the world. We are not here to control people. We are a channel, a turnaround in someone's life, good or bad. But more so, we live this life to be a channel to be good to someone's life. To change the perspective of having a one-track mind of thinking for ourselves. Yes, we do need someone there for us. And sometimes shit happens. But overthinking is too much, and you have to have an outside activity. You have to time when your overthinking is occurring. Does it happen in the morning time? Does it happen in the evening time? Does it happen in the bump of the night while you sleep? You wake up just sitting there thinking to yourself. And all of that comes from a lot of trauma. It comes from putting a lot of pressure on yourself. Trying to make this happen, trying to make that happen. And it overloads your brain. You have to give your mind. You have to give your heart. And I consider your heart to be your spirit of you. To relax. To go to sleep. Because when you take these things into your night of rest, you wake up in the middle of the night with this. You don't sleep well. You don't get up well. Overthinking is powerful. But having control of your life is more powerful. So, if we, somewhere down the road, and if this message can help anybody, to just give yourself time. Pull yourself back from situations. Just give yourself time to think. Do you need a vacation? Or is it the old-fashioned way? I need some time to think. Give yourself time and pull yourself from the situation so you can get that opportunity to be able to think. Because overthinking just brings bad decision making and it causes more trauma in your life and more havoc. That's what it does. And sometimes in life it could be chemical imbalance. But there's some natural ways out there to getting yourself back at a calm stage in your life where you're able to think. and not let yourself go into a far, far place where you're lost. Then you become afraid to talk to people. So outside activities with someone you trust is always good. To take your mind off of things. To get yourself to thinking. To get yourself back into place. Because we all get out of balance. You know. So we got to learn to control our balance of ourselves. We all know what's good for us, and we all know what's bad for us. So we have to put things in our lives that can get us in a good place to knowing what's healthier for us in our lives and removing what is just toxic and just bad. Because when you're overthinking and you can't think, those decisions of how you're thinking will never be good thinking. So an outside activity is always good to take your mind off things. Somewhere in a comfort zone where you feel safe. If I told you meds work, it'll be a battle for that situation. Because some people do need them. Because they could be just completely out of control. But a natural way is an outside activity for your life. And you go from there. And you surround yourself with people who love you and care about you. And you will see some results going on inside your head with the overthinking. Because you got to put joy back into your heart. You got to put better thinking, better things in life that is worth thinking about into your mind. Because we're all creative in our own ways. And we don't want to block those blessings from ourselves. You know, what I'm just saying today is just sharing knowledge. And that overthinking is not bad, but it's a trap within yourself. And you have to get out of that. Because it takes over your life where you can't move. Don't put too much on yourself and feel like you gotta get all this done, because it's impossible. Because the body will shut down. If you don't shut down, the body will eventually shut down. And then that leads to medication. Because you didn't give yourself a chance to shut down, the body does its own shutdown. And then, when that happens, meds are only temporary, a patch, a Band-Aid. I can't tell you what occurs after that, because it could be bad, it could be good. But in your own natural way of relaxing and finding something outside of your thinking all the time, and just taking the load off your shoulder, because you're not in prison of yourself. And you can't save the world. Control is within you. And when you find that control in yourself, then you'll find that you can make better decisions around what's good for you and what's bad for you. And then you'll start thinking. That concludes my podcast called Tell the World. And you guys have a blessed evening.